The key HR concept that we shall examine is competency mapping. Now we shall examine some basic questions related to competency mapping. Number one, as to what exactly is competency mapping, what is the problem that this concept of competency mapping has solved, what is the remedy that is provided, what are the major problems that existed before this concept came into existence, and what is the remedy it has provided. And then we shall go on to examine as to what exactly is its utility, as to where we can apply competency mapping. So some fundamental questions we shall answer related to competency mapping. Number one, what? Number two, why? Number three, how? In terms of application points. First, what is competency mapping and what was the problem? As to why there was a need for competency mapping, how did it emerge in the scene as a remedy? Now, HR was prone to lack of measurement. Human resources was prone to 10 opinions when there are 10 people. And there is no particular way of validating a particular opinion, whether it is correct or incorrect. And thus, it became a whole potpourri of mumbo jumbo as to, what is right and what is wrong as far as human resources are concerned. So finally, it became a matter of authority as to whose word goes and who doesn't go. There was a significant lack of scientific analysis or scientific assessment of human resources. And thus, this was the problem. These were the main issues due to which competency mapping emerged. This competency mapping emerged as a scientific remedy to these problems. Now, what is the remedy? Now, the remedy is to be able to accurately calibrate what is the competency present in an individual. What is the competency level present in an individual? Can we measure it accurately? Now, what is the exact level of competency that is required for excellence? And how much of that competency is present in an individual? If we can answer these two questions, it takes a long way to find solutions related to human resources. Now, what exactly did competency mapping do and how did it help us? Now, what is competency mapping? Competency mapping is the ability to assess the level of excellence that an individual can practice in a particular task. Essentially, how to do a task excellently. Now here the key term is excellently. Now it is not enough to know as to how a particular task is to be done. If a person knows how to do a particular task, it is competence, not competency. The ability to do a task to a level of excellence is competency. So how would we measure this? We would measure this by clearly elucidating as to what are the specific skill components of this competency and to what level they are to be practiced on a 4 or a 5-point scale. When those particular skill components are practiced at that level, excellence emerges. So it becomes a formula which enables us to measure the human resource. It enables us to give a certain value of competence to a particular individual. And it also enables us to measure as to what is the gap, what is the competency gap, which if we fill, excellence will emerge. Thus, competency mapping, it radiates validity and reliability to all the HR processes and systems. Thus, why should we practice competency mapping? We should practice competency mapping in order to validate our decisions regarding people, performance and positions. Any decision regarding a particular person, whether the person is to be selected or not, whether the person is to be promoted or not, how the person is to be trained so that the person can perform an excellent performer, all these are fundamentally dependent upon the concept of competency mapping. Thus, competency mapping becomes a central core concept of human resources. It enables measurement of human resource in its different, avatars, and thus it makes human resource more effective as a function. Now let's look at some specific applications of competency mapping. The first application of competency mapping is in the selection process. Now in the selection process, mostly we are fundamentally dependent on qualification and experience. Now, how would we distinguish between two people who have the same level of, same qualification or same level of experience? The distinction is on the basis of competency. And sometimes we find competency is present in an individual who does not have, the same level of experience as another person who has more experience but does not have the competency. Actually, what matters more? Competency matters more, because competency has a direct connection to performance and not necessarily the number of years of experience. So qualification and experience is an outdated mindset of thinking of selecting people. We need to look and talk competency. The best is if we use the two as a combination. Qualifications as an inception point as to how the candidate enters the selection process, and subsequently competency assessment to see as to what is the level of competency present in an individual. Moving further, when we look at induction training, in order to make induction training more effective, rather than picking up anything and everything under the sun or what one particular person thinks is more important, we need to scientifically identify what are the competencies required for performance, which the person requires at the workplace, and thus the induction training program needs to be designed around those competencies. Then only the amount of money that you invest in the induction training process becomes useful. Moving further, now if you look at the training and development function, so much of resources get invested in this. It is, in case it is not directly focused on enhancing performance of the individual and thus resulting in enhancement of performance of the organization, it's quite a waste. So therefore, again, competency mapping plays a fundamental role, not only in identifying the training needs, but also in designing training programs which are effective and which have an impact on the performance of an individual. Moving further, even compensation. Compensation cannot be based only on experience. You might have 10 years of experience and you might be a non-performer, right? So it really cannot be an indicator of compensation. Now we need to actually look at compensation being a function of competency as well as performance. Because competency is a critical parameter for determining compensation. Compensation has to be competency linked. It is only when it is competency linked that it makes sense, that it motivates those who have competency, and of course motivates others who don't have the competency to acquire better competency.